Members, you've heard a lot of testimony. You've gotten many testimonies submitted and shared with you. The chair will make his recommendations. Again, before I do, I would like to thank those that were present. I'd like to also thank State Archivists who and others like the Department of Planning, not Department of Planning, Office of Planning, who are openly and willing to volunteer the services to assist the governor as they move forward. The chair is going to recommend that we move this HCR 37 as an HD1. Members, the chair is going to delete the paragraph on page 3 relating to the first task of this Blue Ribbon Conciliation Commission is to address the issue of Mauna Kea. The chair feels that after feedback from the members that we need to do this separately, and that this commission and its commissioners will need to decide which issues they choose to address as their first and top priorities. So we're going to delete that language. Members, we also need to make some minor technical amendments for language and consistency. In the committee report, members, the chair is going to insert language to help guide the governor's office as they move forward. I think this, as the representative from the those from the community have stated that they want to make sure that this commission, if it moves forward, needs to represent all of Hawaiians. That includes, it should be representing all the islands. It should be inclusive, not exclusive. It needs to address and allow those that are impacted an opportunity to share their manao without fear of retaliation or fear of any type of use of force. Members, the goal of this is to start a healing process and come up with a way to move forward. And in order to do that, it needs to be open, it needs to be fair, and it needs to be pono. So with that, we will be inserting language to help guide the governor's office as they go through their process of doing selection for commissioners. Members, that's the recommendation of the chair. Any comments? Representative Tarnas.
Thank you, Chair, for your recommendation. I'll support you, and I want to emphasize that we do have to build trust. And I listened to the testimony, and I recognize Thank you, Chair, for your recommendation. I will be supporting it, and I want to emphasize that I listened to the testimony. I recognize there's not a great deal of trust out there, but we do need to begin this process of figuring out a way forward. We have a responsibility as a state to work with our First Nation here, and I recognize there's not consensus among everyone within the Hawaiian community. I represent a lot of folks in the Hawaiian community, and so I want to at least give this a chance to move forward so we can find some common ground and find a path forward. This resolution will move forward. I suspect that we'll have an opportunity to look at it once more. Perhaps if the Senate makes some modifications, it'll go to conference, but we'll see. We'll see. We don't know where it's going, but our decision is before us today, and I will support the chair.
Thank you.
To move this out in the hopes that we can find some positive path forward for reconciliation. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Representative Ward.
Thank you, Chair. In my 50 years of observing Hawaiian affairs, being George Kanahele's partner and writing a dissertation on Hawaiians in business, the summary of history has been where Kamehameha united the islands, but he didn't unite the Hawaiian people. I think we have an opportunity with this Reso chair, which I will vote for, and I have a slight reservation, as I said earlier, the omnipotency of the appointment power of the governor. And I know you're going to put in the committee report that it should be very wide and representative. I'd like to see all the major landowners, not just the major government people, that would be in there to really represent the leadership, as Peter Apo said. There's very many and very far afield, but no one individually is considered the leader. The diplomats say when we stop talking, the bullets start flying. So I think there's got to be a continual dialogue within the community if we're going to progress beyond where we are now. And it's at a turning point, and I'm totally convinced that as you've taken up Mauna Kea, you've allowed us to look at the total history of what the 136 or so years have been, of the disappointments, the anger, the things that have built up in the Hawaiian community, which is not going to be a magic bullet, but it's got to be a process of discussing this. And as someone said, hey, the state knows what it has to do. 28,000 people on the wait list for DHHL, that's clearly something that's got to be done. But some of the other stuff, Chair, we just don't have the political will to do, but we know what we should be doing. Having said that, I think the last thing I would say is that Uncle Walter and Tricia Watson had it from marching to voting, because the Hawaiian community does not realize how much power it has, and as long as it stays outside, they can hold their nose and vote if they want to. But to get political muscularity is really what the bottom line is. And as George Kanahele, 10 feet away from me, wrote Kukanaka, stand tall, Hawaiians. That's how you're going to make this, and talk tall as we participate in this. So with that, Chair, thank you very much for bringing this forward.
Representative Owen? Representative Wilder.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate your amendments removing TMT from this measure, and looking at all of the opposition testimony that came from the community, the overwhelming opposition testimony, and out of a desire to bring the voice of the Hawaiian community to this committee, I'll be voting no on this measure, respectfully.
Thank you. Representative Owen.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just some brief comments. No, I appreciate there's a lot of mistrust, and that's why we received so much opposition testimony to this. But I think that if we can find a way forward and try to trust that this is a conversation that needs to happen, and just to not talk to each other or not try to have a conversation going forward, I don't think that's something that anybody wants. So I appreciate the amendments, and I think that tries to work on addressing this question of trust. I know that there's still a long way to go as we move forward, but I will be supporting this because I think we have to continue to talk to each other and try to have this conversation, as difficult as it is.
Thank you. Representative Todd.
Hi, just thank you for the work you and the committee have put into this, and for everyone to come and be a part of the process. And I think it's the last last a really long time, but especially the last 8-9 months have been really frustrating for me personally. And it's very easy to lose hope in a sense that we'll ever find a way to kind of bridge some of the divide that's really occurred. And I never want to be put in a position, people ask me about TMT and stuff, and I never want to be in a position where it's a choice between proceeding with something and arresting hundreds of my friends and neighbors in the process. And my hope is that through this process and through a lot of things that we should already be doing, like fully funding OHA and DHHL, that are unrelated in a sense to this reconciliation, that we can be in a position where that's never something that occurs again, where we're really having to be put in that situation. So with that, I'll be supporting it, and I'm hopeful, probably for the first time in the last 9 months, that something positive will come out of this. But I know that for that to happen, there's a lot that needs to get done, so I'm hopeful in that.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Seeing none. Again, the recommendation of the chair is to move HCR 37 as in HD1. Thank you again, members. Vice Chair, please take the vote.
Thank you. It's voting for HCR 37, recommendation to pass the amendments. The chair and vice chair vote aye. Rep Har.
Reservations.
Reservations for Rep Har. Rep Lowen.
Aye.
Rep Tarnas.
Aye.
Rep Waldberger is a no vote. Rep Ward, reservations or straight up?
It's aye with slight reservations.
Okay, that's fair. Recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, and thank you everybody for coming. We are adjourned.